Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, this is MLS Ireland. Well, I'll be doing my predictions for week 2, 3. We're on week 3. Crazy, isn't it? It's going very quickly. Stay tuned. Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean, and this is where I do my predictions. This is MLS Ireland. If you're new to this, hit that subscribe button. All that kind of jazz. I've got Twitter. I got a Patreon. Started it up a couple months ago. Didn't really do much about it. Just left it there. But anyway, most of the information's kind of in the description, basically below. I think it's the description. It's one of the things. Anyway. We're into week 3. It's pretty impressive so far that Austin are actually top of the league. NYRB Bulls are second, which is pretty impressive. DC United are not doing too bad, and LA Galaxy has won 2 and scored 2, which is not too bad for LA Galaxy. And probably the strangest ones is Seattle at 25th position. Inter Miami are not looking all that great. Toronto are not looking all that great. New York City FC probably have other things on their mind. And saying that, it's what you expect kind of at the moment. New England probably again have a better team and things on their mind, so they're not doing too bad either. Them sitting in 8th place, so I might as well crack on with my predictions because I'm off tomorrow, and I'm off tomorrow. The way to go to Germany, to Cologne, to watch, and then on Sunday to watch Dortmund. Yay! Anyway, first one is New York City FC against Montreal. As I said, New York City have other things on their mind, as does Montreal. Montreal probably not having the best moment of a time when they're trying to juggle both, whereas New York City probably have a deeper squad and probably a better squad. So saying that, I kind of went for like a 2-1 win to New York City FC, just for the fact is that they're the MLS Cup champions and they have a better team than Montreal, and Montreal are not really having a great time of it. At the moment, they have conceded 4 goals and only scored the 1, so that's not great. The next one is Columbus Crew against Toronto. Now, Toronto are not doing very well at all. They kind of really need a defender. They probably spend a lot of money on an attacker, a wide attacker, probably, when you think about it. Spend a lot of money on him, and now they're coming up now. They're not even going to get him till the summer. And now they're coming up against the team, Columbus Crew, who are kind of doing so-so. They're 5th in the league. They've scored 7 and conceded 3. They are 5th. 4 points, 1-1, and drew the other. So obviously you would think this is probably going to be an easy one for Columbus Crew, and you'll be right. Yeah, I'll go for like a 2-0 win. Columbus Crew are just a far better team. Toronto are very scarce at the back. They don't really have any coherence. They're just not really all there, and I think Bob Bradley is finding it tough because his team's Michael Bradley's kind of aged. They're kind of middle of the park's quite aged. They're front line is non-existent, and their back line is not really that great either. So, yep. 2-0 to Columbus Crew. The next one is Inter Miami against LAFC. Now, Inter Miami, again, they looked okay last week at the start. They kind of picked the momentum up, and then they got trashed quite badly. They've only scored 1 goal so far, and conceded 5, so it's not great, and I believe that 5 was last week, so that wasn't good. And that was against Austin. Austin were pretty good though, but to be fair, but still, they're coming up against an LAFC team who are okay. They won their first game pretty convincingly, and then they drew their second 1-1. Again, it is a trickier one. I'm going to go for like a 1-1. These two teams are capable of scoring a goal. Inter Miami at home, LAFC away. I think Villa kind of a late fitness test. I think they're okay with him playing, but anything could change until then. So I'm trying to go with that he's fit, but not perfect, not 100%. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1. The next one is Seattle Sounders against LA Galaxy. Now, Seattle Sounders haven't won a game this season. They've LA Galaxy scored 1-0, 2 1-0s, that's what I'm trying to say, and Seattle lost by 1-0, by 2 1-0s, you know what I mean. But funnily, I think this one could be a Seattle win, and I'm going to go for like a 1-0, surprisingly enough. Seattle Sounders probably, they didn't look too bad in the Champions League. They're coming up against an LA Galaxy team who probably are playing better with each other, but they're still not really scoring goals. They're not conceding that many too, so that's not too bad. But I think Seattle is probably going to have this one with their home support. They're going to get into it and probably get a 1-0 win. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough watch, to be fair. But I'm going to go for like a 1-0. The next one is Houston Dynamo against Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, Houston, Vancouver are 24th at the moment, lost one and drew one, whereas Houston have drew one and lost one. So none basically on the same points. Houston have only conceded the one goal but not scored any, whereas Vancouver conceded 4 and not scored any. So these two teams haven't scored yet. This is going to be an interesting one. I think my mind says Vancouver. It could be a completely different one, but I'm going for like a 1-0 to Vancouver. I did watch a couple of their games. They didn't look too bad. They're just not scoring at the moment, but I think Houston Dynamo are capable of conceding, and even though they've only conceded the one so far, I just see them conceding probably in this one. I think Vancouver probably have the upper hand in this one. I could be wrong in this one, so actually don't really. Anyway, the next one is DC United against Chicago Fire. Now, Chicago Fire, I don't think have scored that much this week or this past 2 weeks. Nope, they haven't scored a goal, nor have they conceded, which isn't too bad. They're coming up against a DC United team who haven't conceded either, but scored 4. Now, do I think Chicago Fire could probably get a good result in this one? I probably do. I'm going to go for like a 2-2 draw. I think DC United have a very good team, but I think this is going to be a game where they are suspected to win it, and then they kind of don't really put too much effort into it. It's kind of like more of a DC and United thing, so I'm going to go for like a 2-2. I think Chicago Fire will start to get into the swing of things. They didn't look too bad, but they kind of still they don't look like they have played a lot along with each other. So that's going to go for like a 2-2. The next one is New England Revolution against Real Salt Lake. Now, Real Salt Lake last season was quite a surprise. They were doing quite well. They're crawling up the league quite comfortably, and then they got into the playoffs in the last minute, which wasn't too bad. Now they're coming up against a New England team who played 2 nights ago in the Champions League, and they won quite convincingly. So this one's going to be a good one, and I actually watched a little bit of it too, and they actually looked pretty good. Their passing was sweet, and their passing was quick, and everything was perfect. And they scored, I think they scored 3 goals. I went to bed halftime. But the first half was pretty good. So I'm going to go for like a 3-1 win to New England, just for the fact is they're a far better team. They're at home in front of their own fans, albeit in a very huge stadium. I'm going to go for a 3-1. The next one is Orlando against FC Cincinnati. Again, Cincinnati is going to be another long season. Haven't scored yet and conceded 6. And now they're coming up against Orlando, who haven't conceded any and scored 2. So I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to Orlando. Then the next one is Philadelphia against San Jose Earthquakes. Now this is going to be a completely interesting one. Philadelphia drew the first game against Minnesota 1-0 at home, and then they beat Montreal 2-1 away. Now they're coming up against the San Jose team who haven't won a game yet. They got beaten at home against New York Red Bulls, and then they drew with Columbus Crew 3-3, which wasn't a bad result. Now they're away from home against Philadelphia. It is going to be a trickier one. Burpee. Philadelphia's 2-0 win. Philadelphia are a far better team. They don't have Champions League to annoy them this season. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win. The next one is FC Dallas against Nashville. FC Dallas drew the first one, and then lost their second one against New England, which isn't a bad result. They drew against Toronto. A draw against Toronto was not great, but they didn't do too bad in New England. That was a 1-0 loss. They're coming against a Nashville team who are starting last season off pretty well. Similar. They drew 1-1 last week, which isn't a bad result, and then they beat Seattle the week before that, which isn't too bad. Now this is going to be their 3rd game on the road. I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win to Nashville. They're just a far better team. So they are against, and they'll probably beat DC United. It's going to be a tight game, but I think DC United may struggle to score in this one, so I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win because Nashville are pretty good. And the next one is Colorado Rapids against Sporting Kansas City. Now, Colorado are starting the season off not too bad. They got beaten by LAFC 3-0. Well, they fell, and then they kind of walked over Atlanta 3-0, which was a pretty good result. And now they're coming up against the Sporting Kansas City team, who I don't think have hit their stride just yet. Again, it's still early days. They've won one and drew and lost one. They got beaten by Atlanta 3-1, and then they beat Houston Dynamo 1-0 at home. And this one's going to be a trickier one, but I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go for like 2-2. It's going to be a nice game. I think these two teams are probably well matched, and you're probably going to when you watch it, you're probably going to know two good teams, two good defensively, and they're probably good too, but better offensively. So they're probably good in the midfield and out in the wide area. So it's going to be a good game. The next one is Portland against Austin, the team who are top, which is pretty impressive. Coming up against Portland, who, let me see, have drew both their games, and they've only conceded 3 and scored 3, which isn't too bad. And the first game was 2-2 against New England, and then 1-1 against LAFC in LA. Now they're going to be at home against Austin, the leaders, who have scored 10 and conceded 1, and that one was against Inter Miami, and then so that's not too bad. But I do think this is probably going to be one where it's probably going to be a bit of a too far for reach. So I'm going to go for like a Portland 2-1 win. Portland just probably a better team. I know Austin are hit their stride, but those first 2 games were at home. This one's going to be away game, and it's going to be on plastic turf. So they may struggle in this one. The next one is Atlanta against Charlotte. Now, Atlanta won their first game against Sporting Kansas City quite convincingly, and then they got beaten by Colorado. But they come up against the Charlotte team, who are new to the whole thing, who got beat 3-0 by DC United, and at their home opener, they got beaten by LA Galaxy 1-0 by Hernandez. So I think Atlanta should probably win this one. I'm going to go for like a 3-0. It's kind of like a mini derby when you think about it. Atlanta at home, so it should be pretty impressive. So I'm going to go for like a 3-0 win to Atlanta. And then now the last one is New York Red Bulls against Minnesota United. Do you know what? I actually think Red Bulls are probably going to win this one. They actually do look quite decent. Lewis Morgan is doing very well for them at the moment. Minnesota are in the middle of the road, if you know what I mean. Both games were basically draws, 1-0, conceded 1, lost 1, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 1-0, and this is probably their first loss, and New York Red Bulls going to go top. So those were my predictions. I hope you enjoyed them. If you like this all kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button, all that kind of crack. So I hope to see you next time. Bye now.